So just to introduce myself, I'm Rich Graves, Director of Product Management here at ServiceAid, and for our Cloud Service Manager product, and Prasanna Nagaraj is our other product manager with the team in India, focused on all the technical details of daily product management. So today we're going to be covering the new archival feature that will be coming with the Goldfish release. It's a little bit different than a normal feature because it's not going to be turned on immediately as we do the Goldfish release, and we want to make sure everybody's clear on the details here. If there are questions, if there are concerns, that you certainly raise them before we roll this out, and we can have a frank conversation to figure out what works best for your organization. Okay? So we will be talking a little bit about some roadmap things. So this is our standard disclaimer, letting you know that roadmap is an intention or a target, but it is not a guaranteed commitment. So let's talk first about the Goldfish release. So quick update: the Goldfish release will be rolled out in January. I did put a post in the community, early this week or late last week, I don't remember, about the target dates we're shooting for. There's really we don't have the set calendar date just yet. We're trying our best to get it to hit the 14th of January for the America system and the 21st for Europe and in Australia. It looks like we'll hit those, but we do have a backup plan as well, and I wanted to make sure everyone's well aware of both those options. So we put all the details out there on that. But the Goldfish release really has three main areas of improvement. First is the Analyst mobile app, but I'll cover that sort of at the end because that is rolled out separately from the sort of the server release, the application release. That'll come in February, but I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. The big enhancements for existing customers are Elasticsearch. That's the new global search engine, or what we're going to start also referring to sort of as advanced global search, because it's a little bit confusing when we talk about some of these points in the deck here. So the Elasticsearch will be available in all languages for all customers. Right now it's rolled out to a subset of English language customers, really more of it in beta. So that'll be available, which really has much improved performance of searching, as well as higher quality results with the ability to do some more advanced searching and include specific attributes on, say, a ticket if you want to do a very specific search. So a much more powerful search engine based on a technology called Elastic. Additionally, the archival improvements and some of the reporting improvements that we'll talk about here. Additionally, on the analyst side, there's a lot of enhancements to the scratch pad feature, some improvements on notifications and tracking attachments, as well as adding Microsoft Edge support for those of you who are on Windows 10 and above. Microsoft Edge, which is Microsoft's new browser to replace Internet Explorer, which has really great performance, very comparable to Chrome and Firefox. So on the Analyst mobile app, I'll just mention this very briefly. So that will be a new mobile app that will roll out. The target is to roll out in the app stores, Google Play and the Apple iOS App Store in February. There is an approval process with both app stores, so sometimes there's a lag of about a week of when we release it to when it actually is available for download. But it will focus on analyst use cases, so taking actions on a ticket, managing your tickets. And right now we're going through user experience design research with customers and getting a lot of great feedback, and I think learning a lot and fixing things early in the process. Okay. So, and one last thing, just to let everyone know, there are a number of ideas from the community that did make it into the Goldfish release. I know I mentioned it on one of the last webcasts, but I think there's about 54 total ideas now that we've delivered based on customer feedback in the community. Since the community was rolled out in about just 2 years ago, I think, just over 2 years ago. So I think that's positive, and I think it shows that we're listening, but also that there's great ideas out there, and certainly things that we think will improve the product. And real users are often the best place to get great ideas from. So jumping into the archival. So I think first it's worth explaining why we need to do this archival. What's the value in it? What's the benefit to you? And what this really means from a system perspective. So the why is really the growing size of customer databases. So if you're not familiar with the sort of the architecture of cloud service management, we have a single application layer, single application in each one of our geographies or data centers. And then, each customer has a slice that connects under that application, and each customer has a database connected to that slice. And so those databases are growing. We've never felt there was a need, years and years and years ago to do archival and to do, extracting data and purging data or anything like that. But because now we've, Cloud Service Management and its previous names, this application has been around for a long time. So some customers have been on the tool for almost a decade now, and some customers 3, 4, 5, 7 years. So their databases, especially the ticket tables, are becoming huge. And when you do actions like take an action on a ticket or process SLAs or do a query against the ticket table, those become just slower and slower and slower over time because of just the huge amount of tickets that are in that table and in that object in the application. So what we wanted to do is ensure much better, much more consistent performance, regardless of how long you've been on the system. And I'll talk about what this really means and what's actually going on in those tables in the database. But we want to speed up performance of the transactional ticket table. So that's the active ticket table. That's the table and the objects in the application that are hit all the time. So when someone's looking at Ticket Center, when someone's updating a ticket, we're hitting that ticket table and that ticket object, and it's just and obviously the more data you have in there, the slower things will operate over a long period of time. We also want to make sure that we can improve performance on reporting. And as well as a big piece of feedback we heard, we originally thought about rolling this out back in the Firefly release back in October. And when we talked about this with customers in August and September, I think there's a real concern about purging tickets from the system. So we paused that. We went through and talked to a lot of customers and felt like we created a design that meets the needs as well as improves performance. So I think a key thing to understand is when we're archiving it, we're really moving it from one table in the system to another table in the system, but it doesn't disappear from the application. So what this really means, and I'll talk through the process, is the way this will work when this is rolled out, and I'll talk about the rollout process too, is if there's a job that will run in the system, and it'll look for all tickets with an open date greater than 13 months ago that tickets are also closed. So look for closed tickets that are older than 13 months is the easy way to put it. So those tickets, which are are very old at this point, are moved out of these transactional ticket tables, and then they're immediately made read-only in the interface. So those tickets can still be found. You can find them through using the new global search. You can find those tickets. You can view all the information on those tickets. They are read-only. You can't edit the fields on those tickets. You can't take actions on those tickets other than copy to new, but they are still available in the interface. Those links to users, to attachments, to related tickets, to knowledge articles, all those still exist. So I think what we tried to solve here is previously we were trying to figure out the right way to move tickets out of the transactional table, and the big concern from customers was I still need to see that information in the system. I still need to run to do a search and say, hey, show me that ticket from a year and a half ago about, I don't know, a network printer failure or something, and you can still find that in the system. So I think so far, what's important to know on, sort of slide one here is that, tickets will be moved out of that transactional ticket table and moved into what we're calling like an archive set of tables. You still can find them in the system, but all those tickets are now read-only. So still helpful, it still can find them, still can relate them, but now they're read-only. And if you think about reporting on those tickets, those tickets, since now they're read-only and in those archived tables, they're not available in the standard reports, and they're not available in Ticket Center. And Ticket Center really, that's really not changing from today versus the Goldfish release with these archived tickets, because Ticket Center today only shows active tickets. Once the ticket is closed, it doesn't show up in Ticket Center. So that's not really changing, but we wanted to point that out just to make sure people understand. So there's these archived tickets, you can't see them from standard reports. You won't see them in Ticket Center. You still can see them in advanced reporting. So what we've done is we've created a new domain called Archive Domain, which will have all of these historical tickets in that domain. So really, you'll have two main domains now. You'll have really, the same domain you have today, which goes against really all this active information, so data from the last 13 months. And then you'll have this archive domain, which is really meant for historical ticket reporting. So if you're looking for a report on, what happened in, I don't know, 2015 or something for the whole year, or maybe even 2014 for the whole year, you could run those reports in the archive domain and see those, historical type of reports. But the current domain that you see will become sort of active tickets only. So it'll have 13 months worth of tickets. And the reason why we picked 13 months is because a lot of people like to do, trailing 13 months reports. And we felt like that was a good default. 12 months, we heard from a lot of customers, they felt like they needed a little bit more, and 13 months made more sense, so they could get a little bit longer period of time and running against active tickets. Okay. And again, if you do have any questions, just a reminder, you can go to the Q&A feature in WebEx event here and ask any questions here, and Prasanna is monitoring that, and we'll take a pause and answer some of those as well later. Okay. Additionally, if you think about other tables in the system, the login history table, right now holds the entire login history, since your slice was created. So if your slice was created in 2010, you have, a row in that table for every single session start and end, over that period of time, which is just a massive table, and it's not really useful. So we've been looking at this table for a period of time and saying, really, customers don't need, 10 years worth of login history. So we'll be defaulting it out of the box to 6 months. So your slice will show 6 months worth of login history, so you can still use that in running, login history reports or your own reports to understand license usage. You still have 6 months worth of data. It is a configurable parameter by our support team. So if, for some reason you want a shorter period of time, or if you want it up to 12 months, it's just a matter of reaching out to the support team and asking to configure that for you. So the default is 6 months. If for some reason for your reporting, for your auditing, if you're a managed service provider and you have to provide, 12 months of login history to your customers, you certainly can do that. And it's just a matter of reaching out to support and setting that. But we felt like 6 months was plenty. From a vendor perspective, we always focus on the last 90 days is what we're looking at, but felt like 6 months was plenty of data for customers. Okay. So talking about the rollout of the archive process. So when we upgrade to Goldfish, the code for this, the tables for this are all rolled out, but the actual job to run this archive won't be live yet. We want to make sure that Goldfish, that release goes well, and that we do the archive separate, and there's a good time to do that as well. So as usual, we'll be rolling out the archive process first to staging, just to make sure customers are comfortable with it, see how it looks from a data perspective, see how this archive domain looks, and make sure everyone's comfortable with it before we flip the switch and roll it out into production. We will be doing this on a customer-by-customer basis as we move to the new data centers. So I mentioned that in the last calls we had. We will be moving out of the CA Technologies data centers starting in January and completing that by the end of March. And we're doing that migration on a customer-by-customer basis as we move to a public cloud environment. That release is called Horseshoe, and I'll talk about that a little bit, but we'll be rolling it out first in staging so you can see it. And then as we do the migration to this new data center, we'll be doing the archive as part of that. So we're doing it all in one and not, adding any additional downtime or any additional, overhead based on that. The actual, once it's turned on in your environment, it will run just once a quarter. And we felt like we didn't want to be disruptive on every time you want to look at tickets. You have to think about where it might be, especially on the reporting end, because from a search perspective, you do a search for a ticket, you're going to find it regardless of if it's archived or not archived. So the archive job runs once a quarter. And so let's say, we start, you'll say, July 1st is the start of another quarter. So on July 1st, we run this job. It's going to look for all tickets with a status of closed who have an open date greater than 13 months ago, and then move that data into the transactional tables. And then we'll wait another 3 months and run this job again. So once a quarter, this job will run and move the data from the active transactional ticket tables to this archive tables, and certainly then do the same on the domain side. You'll see those tickets move from one domain to another. And again, the archival process, actual rolling out this process the first time, we will do it first in staging and then in production as well. Okay. So just more of a deeper architectural review of how we do this. First we're doing it in staging. We apply these partitions, which are really just setting the scope of the parameters of the job and setting up these new tables, and then actually running this archive job, which we call a post-release activity, so it's not part of the actual Goldfish upgrade that you'll receive in January. And then post-Goldfish release scope, moving those tables. And then longer term, we are looking at, extracting the older data out of the system. So this is something we're still discussing and really want customer feedback on. The 13 months is, we know that's data that's critical to have in your system. So, we know 2-3 years worth of data is critical to have in your system for historical reporting, for lookups on tickets, to relate to other tickets, to say, you know what, I know we had this issue last year at the same time, let's find that, or even 24 months ago, let's find that. We know that's critical, but beyond 3 years, it's really an open question we want to have with you of how much data do you need in your system to retain for historical, long-term purposes, and how long is that information useful? Is the ticket about, a browser error, 3 years ago still useful, or is technology moving so fast that that information becomes obsolete after 2, 3, whatever time period is right for you? So that's what we do want to understand, because we know longer term there will be a need to remove older data from the system. Certainly provide it to you, it's your data, but what is that right number? And that's something we want to have an open discussion with our customer community about. So not something that's going to happen in Goldfish, not something that's going to happen in Horseshoe, but beyond that, it's something we want to talk about and find out what's the right number for you. So something that's coming, but we want to discuss more on that. But really the focus right now is moving the older tickets older than 13 months that are closed, moving those out of the transactional tables, putting them in the archive tables, and keeping them available in the system. Okay. So I think this is most important. This is sort of my quick summary slide before we go into the demo. I think just to really make sure people understand, what does this really mean for like an analyst using the system? Ticket Center will not show archive tickets, which you're not going to see, closed tickets anyway. So you wouldn't see these tickets in Ticket Center today, but I think it's worth repeating to make sure everybody understands that. Standard reports, which are really the older reports that we have in the system, they will not contain archived tickets. They only go against those, what we consider the transactional ticket table, those active tickets. The old global search, which we are moving away from with the Elasticsearch, but it still will be there for users, that will not show the archived tickets either. Archived tickets are not available in the Scratchpad as well. I didn't mention that before. So Scratchpad is focused really on 90 days worth of data on an analyst and seeing historical tickets for the end user. It will only show tickets that are really within that 13 months period. It's not going to show archived tickets. Links to other objects continue to exist in the system. So as I mentioned before, archived tickets that have links to other related tickets, to CIs, to assets, to attachments, to users, all those links will still stay in the system, and you'll be able to use those links in the system as well. So really it's important to note that the ticket becomes, once it's archived, it becomes read-only. It still looks and feels exactly like a regular ticket. There'll be an icon that indicates it's archived. And then the only action you can take on that ticket is to copy it to new. You can't, use any of the other out-of-the-box actions or any actions you created based on the ticket as well. Okay. Additionally, in Goldfish, there's a couple other changes to advanced reporting that are not exactly related to this, but I think are important to note, and we'll shift over to Prasanna in just a second for the demo to talk about that. So we do have the ability to support multiple domains, which is in part, why we needed to change this to support having the archive domain. So we've added that archive domain, but we also put in some restrictions on the number of tables in a domain. And this is really, we noticed some performance problems once people were adding lots of tables, custom tables, adding other tables in the system building some custom reports. Once you hit 75 tables in that domain, performance really slows down, and so we wanted to limit that and warn people when they were getting close. So once you hit 50 tables, the system's going to start warning you and showing you an error message, which you can see on the top right screenshot in red there. So it'll show you a warning message and let you know that you're approaching that limit, and once you hit 75, you'll be encouraged to contact support, and support can create a new domain if that's what you needed to be done there. So just want to let everybody know that's coming as well in Goldfish. But for most customers, there really should be no change here, because most customers aren't hitting this limit, but there are a few that have hit this, and we certainly want to put in some guardrails to let customers know and warn them when they're getting to that limit. Okay. So I'm now going to hand the ball over to Prasanna. Prasanna's going to walk through a demonstration of some of the archive features and advanced reporting. If there are any questions while Prasanna's going through the logistics to share, you can ask them on the Q&A feature in WebEx, or if you want to unmute and ask an audio question, you can hit #6 on your phone and ask a question, and we'll help you out. Okay.
Can everybody see my screen?
Yep, I can see Sam, yep. Okay.
So I've just created a demo environment for demonstrating the archive functionality. So this slide is created, I think, a few days back. Not much of data is there. I think we just wanted to show how it would look, and then how the archival search would work, and then how the reporting domain we can use for archival reporting, archival ticket reporting, and search this one. So for demonstration purpose, I think we did archive on 20th of this month, I think 2 days back. So after whatever tickets created prior to that got completely archived, and whatever you see here, tickets which got created after that, after 20th date. But remember, you can see still there are some tickets which are created on 20th. It's still showing over here. The reason behind that is one of the tickets which was created on that date was not closed. So that's what we have a condition where the ticket is closed, and then all the related tickets would also get archived. If one of the ticket is not closed, it's not resolved, it's still open, customers or analysts are working on that. So for some reason it got passed for some time, so those tickets will not get archived. Not just that ticket, all the related tickets for that ticket would also not be archived to make sure that the entities are proper and then the relationship is maintained in the system. So just want to show that functionality, and then let me go to the search. For example, if you see here, let me go to the normal search, the global search. Here you would see all the tickets, all the tickets which are open, which are archived, everything, you would see them there. You could see some of the tickets which having a folder icon on top of the ticket icon, so that those are the tickets which got archived. So to identify that more clearly, we have come up with a tab or the tab filter basically to show those tickets which are archived. So this list should show me all the tickets which are archived. So let me just open one of the tickets. Let me just open the test ticket for Archival, which I just created. So this is the ticket. When you open it, you would not feel that this ticket is like archived or something unless it's like an icon and this ticket is archived, it cannot be edited. So rest of the view and the details which are there, for example, the navigation would work same way. It's no difference from any transactional ticket. So that way you can have a same look and feel of the ticket even if it is in the Archival, even if it is in the archived folder. Only action which we have is just to copy to new, in case if you want to copy the same ticket information and then provide a new one, in case if you're recurring renewal or some information which we want to have, so you can create new and then make it an active ticket for that one. So that is the one. I could also show you that in case if I have related couple of tickets to this, let me go to the related ticket section. So I would see this related. These are the tickets which are related to this particular one. I could still go and check this. 211 is the ticket. So I could still have the link, and then this 211 ticket gets opened. All the links and everything would get intact even after the archival. Let me go to the same 111 and then see the attachment functionality, how it would behave. Let me go and then just show this ticket. So you would get that ticket saved, and then you could see them available. So those functionality which are associated to that ticket, everything would be in proper this one. So you won't feel that this ticket is archived and you don't have the ability to see this ticket or search this ticket. So we maintain that integrity into the system there. So that's the search and ability of the archival ticket. Let me go and then see how we can use this for reporting purpose. So I think Rich mentioned that along with the Goldfish Release, we are also having an option for creating additional domain for our existing customers. And apart from that, currently for Archival, we created an Archival domain. So if we go to the edit domain, earlier you would only automatically get to the custom cloud SM domain. So now we have an option for you to select which domain you want to edit for adding tables or creating an ad hoc view or those functionality. We can have them. So let me first show you the archival domain, how it would look. So let me just go to the edit domain in Designer. So it would have all the archival related data into the system. You could see them in the tables. So you could see all those, whatever is the related to Archival, you would see all those tables available, and then you select a couple of them for the reporting. These are the default out-of-the-box domain which gets created for the archival purpose. We can use that and then create the domain. So that way it will be same as like existing domain. You modify that, update that, but it will be restricted only to the archival tables. Let me go to quickly and then show you creating an ad hoc view. So when creating an ad hoc view, you have the option. Currently you had only Cloud SM and Custom Cloud SM. Now we have the option of the archival domain. That's a new domain which created. So let's go to that domain and then see creating an ad hoc view. So you would find the similar way, because archival currently is only for the tickets. So you would see the source as tickets, archive tickets. And then once you enter into the, while selecting the fields, you would find it same as, for example, the current tickets which you are adding from the domain for creating the report purpose. So you could add description, you could add ticket ID. So you could add the status, it's for close. You can put the ticket type there. You can do the filter same way as this one, and then create a date, just picking some of the new ones and then close date. So if you want to capture that, and then probably closed by. So you would find it the same as the current, whatever the domain you create or the report you create or view you create. So it would work similarly. There's no difference in, only the difference is in the domain, and the rest of the selection would be similar way of creating a report or a view. Let me save this. Demo report, demo view. This would be demo report, just taking. So just go to the doc report and then just do a refresh of this current screen. You should see those new two report and the doc view which you created just now. So this is the archival ticket, this one. This is the doc view demo report. So that's how you create the report from the archival tables. So it would be same as what you do from the search or from any reporting purpose. So apart from that, because currently archival tables are very less, it's only 40 or odd tables which we have, which are like ticket and tickets related tables. So you won't have the problem of them, but still we have the guardrail applied on that, the number of this one. So just to show demonstrating the other functionality, let me go to the Cloud SM and domain, and then do an edit domain. So here we have the limitation of number of tables getting into the domain for creating reports. So here we have restrictions on number of tables available, and they could warn you. After that, you would see it would not allow you to move the tables from the resources to the set and items there or to the new tables there. It's coming up. It's taking a few minutes. Yeah. So these are the current tables in case if you want to move a couple of new tables or you want to take a report on a model, and it would show me. Now it's like if you see here, the tables are now 60 tables on the selected one. And then I think for this testing purpose, I think we have configured it to 65 as the warning limit. So if you see, if I select 5 of them, you would see this got deselected. So I'll not be able to move this 5 tables there. So it would start in case if I select 3 tables, 4 tables, it would allow me to move that, and you could see one. Domain currently contains 64 tables, and it's approaching the 65 table limit. If you're not able to this one, then it will stop working. It will not be able to move further than. Assume if I move 65th, so that would be the last one. After that, even if I select multiple of them, I'll not be able to move them to the selected table. Only way if we want to make that happen again is to move out some of the reports which are not, some of the tables which we are not using in any reporting. We can move them back, and then we still have one we moved. So we have an option for moving one table from the data source to the selected table. So that's why you can still maintain the warning and the threshold limit so that your performance on reporting would drastically improve with this limitation. In case if you need to have multiple responses, that is possible, you can request for the creation of domain. I think we would probably provide additional domain capability, so you can go and edit that domain and then create reports from using that domain. instead of like populating all the reports from one single domain. It's better to logically split the domain and then have your reporting from those logical separated domains. So that's on the domain one. I think that's what the demonstration is. Rich, you can take over.
All right, thanks, Prasanna. So there was one question that did come in on the Q&A. It's a great question. You know, they were recently asked to run a report for their fiscal year, which ran from July 2015 to June of 2016. So the question was, if they wanted to run that report today, you know, what would happen, and then how would they do that? And essentially, you would have to run a report of active tickets and of archived tickets, two separate reports, because they are two separate domains. A single report cannot go against two domains, and then you would need to combine that data or, you know, dump it to Excel or something. So, so today, if you're running that report today and Archival was, you know, rolled out, you would have to run two different reports. So that's a good point. So if there are others who have that same question, that same concern, if you are being asked, you know, after the fact to run these, you know, reports that go across, more than 13 months of active data, or I guess the situation that we're running into where, you know, half of it or more than half is on one side and the rest is on another side, please do let us know and let's talk through that and figure out what's the best way to meet your needs. We certainly, you know, don't want to be disruptive to your needs and your environment, so please let us know. Okay, so jumping back into the presentation, there's a couple things I did want to cover, sort of what's coming future. So before we sort of summarize and wrap up, just want to remind everyone the next release after Goldfish, which is what we're calling Horseshoe, again, alphabetical order, lucky symbols is what we use for our release names since they are short-term release names. We are moving to a new data center. So we're moving out of the CA Technologies data center, certainly as, you know, Cloud Service Management is now owned by ServiceAid. You know, we need to move out of those CA Technologies data centers. So we'll be moving out of those data centers and moving to a public cloud infrastructure, and we'll be talking a lot more about that in January. What that essentially means, you know, I think the benefits certainly are we will have a much more performant data center and be able to respond much faster to needs for, if you think about moving to a traditional data center versus the cloud, you can respond much faster to needs for more hardware, to more capacity, more virtual machines. All that can be spun up and using a much more elastic environment. And we will be setting up an environment that's much better also from a redundancy and high availability perspective. So that's, I think, an important thing we've heard from a lot of our customers is to be able to support much higher availability and redundancy. And eventually, the end goal is to really significantly reduce downtime during upgrades and minimize that to hopefully minutes or zero downtime during an upgrade in the future. But more work to come there. Additionally, one thing that's high on the list in the community is custom URLs, as well as some custom branding of the login page. So if you are not using single sign-on, you go to a shared login page that anyone in your data center will go to, any customer. You think about sm1.sas.ca.com today. That has a CA logo on that login page, and many of our customers want to have their logo, or if you're a managed service provider, you want to brand it for your environment and brand it so your customers know they're going to your environment and not ServiceAid's. So we will have the ability to brand that login page going forward. So that's an important thing to note. And talking about that move, so we'll start the move to the new data center in January. It's on a customer by customer basis. We'll be notifying each customer individually and talking through that. And we'll first copy your staging environment and put it up in this new environment, allow you to test and validate and ensure everything's looking good. And we'll do that approximately, just as we normally do today, approximately 2 weeks before we roll out in production, and assuming everything goes well in staging, we'll roll out into production about 2 weeks later. Again, it'll start in January. We'll notify customers individually. The majority of customers are going to be going in late February and March, but a few of our smaller customers that we know are okay to move early and that we've begun discussions already will move in January. The majority of customers will be late February and March. There will be changes, and the things we want you to think about, and we'll provide detailed testing scripts, is everything related to the URL, because the URL is what really is changing. So if you think about if you have single sign-on, Active Directory sync, if you're redirecting from your own custom URL today, servicedesk.customername.com, thinking about those types of things that are impacted by a URL change. The new custom login page and URL will roll out a feature in the Goldfish release in January, essentially a new attribute that's on the slice configuration screen. So if you go to your slice configuration screen after Goldfish is out there, there'll be one new attribute called well, I have it on the next page here, excuse me. Let me just go to that since I can't remember the name. Slice subdomain field. So you can see the field here on your slice configuration screen, this new field. The field will default to your slice ID. So if you make no change between the time Goldfish is rolled out and the time we help you move to the new data center, your new URL will be something like sliceid.serviceaid.com, something like that. If you do change that, and most people probably change to their company name, you'd be company name dot serviceaid.com, something like that. So we did want to put that out there. It'll be easy for your analysts to remember the URL, much easier. You can also have still support SSO, but also since it's your own custom subdomain, essentially we're creating a unique login page for each customer. Instead of having that single login page that everybody goes to, each customer will have their own login page for their slice, and then you can brand that login page accordingly by putting your own logo in there, and that's making a logo change and being able to brand it for your needs. Okay, so that's an important thing that's coming. We're going to put the parameter out there so you have some time to configure it and get that up before we do the migration as well. Okay. And one question did come in, the migration plan for the data centers, if you're currently hosted in our Americas data center, which is in the United States, you will continue to be hosted in the United States in a data center in the U.S. as well. There's no plans to change that. So, yeah, good question there. Okay, so in summary, I think a couple things to remind folks on. The Goldfish release, we're targeting to roll out and staging the week of January 2nd. These dates are not finalized yet. We should have them finalized very, very soon, and we'll be making the communications on the community very soon, hopefully this week. We know with the holidays this is often difficult, but the week of January 2nd is when the target for staging, excuse me, which means a rollout in production in the North America system the week of the 14th. And then a rollout in our other geographies, Europe and Australia, on the 21st. The new mobile app for analysts will follow in February in the Google Play and Apple App Stores. The archival rollout that we talked about will begin in February. It's, again, on a customer-by-customer basis, so we'll have those communications there. The Horseshoe release, which is focused on the public cloud, will start moving some very small customers in January, and then our larger and the majority of our customers will go in February and March, and we'll have one-on-one conversations to make sure the dates work, that there's plenty of testing on your end, and you feel comfortable understanding what's changing as we do that move. And lastly, hopefully what you're seeing already is increased investment, and I think probably even more important than investment is increased focus from ServiceAid as the product has moved from CA to ServiceAid. ServiceAid this is our product. We're right now a one-product company, and so we're completely focused on cloud service management, keeping our existing customers happy, and certainly growing the product and acquiring new customers as well. So a lot to come, a lot planned for 2017, and we got a lot more to talk about. So look for a webcast probably in early January talking entirely about the migration to the new data center. So look for that in January. We'll have all the details and testing plans and timelines well defined by then. And then Goldfish should be rolled out very soon. So if there are any audio questions at this point, we can take audio questions. So it's #6 on your phone if you have any audio questions. Otherwise, we'll keep an eye on the questions coming in on the Q&A feature as well. Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and stop the recording at this point. We will post the recording usually 48 hours on the community site. And additionally, we'll all stay on, and Prasanna will stay on and answer any other questions that come in on the Q&A feature in WebEx. And everybody, happy holidays and Happy New Year. And I look forward to talking to everyone in the new year. So thanks, everyone. Bye.